or from championship number 6.
It's a feeling like no other, a sensation that gives competition its life. It's quite interesting. It bears so much weight, yet there's no way to measure it. It is practically invisible, and yet everyone can feel it. It is truly what makes sports so exciting. The feeling of uncertainty, the anticipation for miracles, but it also reveals character, where some athletes thrive under the pressure, fully embracing the challenge, and that's what takes them to the top, immortalizing themselves in history. On the other hand, some crumble under the pressure. The weight of expectations makes them shrink and fade away into obscurity. But it's these moments that we truly live for. What makes pressure so amazing is that it only shows up when it matters most. First, let's give it a definition. Pressure is the psychological and physiological weight created by high expectations, limited time, and significant consequences. Now, in all honesty, that's the definition that AI gave, since there technically isn't an official definition for it. This is because pressure sort of isn't real. Even though all of you watching this video have felt it at one point or another, there isn't a point of singularity since pressure is based on subjective experience. What feels like high pressure to one athlete might feel like routine for another. Many people think that it comes from external circumstances, but that isn't really the case either. The biggest cause of pressure is individual perception, the expectations one puts on their own self, whether it be demanding perfection, not letting others down, or fear of failure. Pressure is a blend of many factors, so much so that it's impossible to encapsulate all of it and give a single word definition. But in 1984, a sports psychologist by the name of Roy Baumeister gave a pretty solid explanation. Any factor or combination of factors that increases the importance of performing well on a particular occasion. Let's use it in the context of sports so it's easier to explain. There's a lot of things that happen to your body when it's under pressure. Heart starts beating faster, muscles tense, sweating increases, and the feeling of being locked in. But the real effects all happen in the brain. Imagine you're in an empty gym, shooting around by yourself. A free throw is nothing to you. You've practiced it 1,000 times and you effortlessly make it. Now imagine it's the championship game. The crowd is roaring and everything depends on you. The action of making a free throw is the exact same, but the odds of you making it are now way lower. When under pressure, the brain becomes distracted, and the skills that are stored in your muscle memory shift to conscious control. You think step by step, which usually leads to worse performance. It's like how you automatically blink. But now that I've mentioned it, you're manually doing it and now it feels weird. It's the exact reason why NBA players make every single shot in practice or pickup games, but then struggle to do the same thing in an official game. But this heightened awareness isn't always a bad thing. You see, when the brain detects a threat, the amygdala sends a signal which triggers a certain physiological reaction, what we call fight or flight. But flight doesn't just mean running away. It's also hesitation, avoidance, and collapse. There is nothing sports fans love more than seeing somebody choke, fold under the pressure, fail to succeed. We've seen it countless of times where players run away from the moment. Everything they've ever learned goes out the window, and the pressure mentally crushes them. James Harden time and time again has underperformed in Game 7s. One of the greatest scorers of all time, who just can't seem to put the ball in the hoop when it matters most. Ben Simmons was an elite level talent who had all the potential in the world, but one game, particularly one play, changed his entire career. A mistake that showed everyone he was scared of having the ball in his hands. The biggest stain on LeBron's career is his 2011 finals performance, where it seemed like the man barely even wanted to play. The best player in the world playing like a bench player, completely collapsing at the highest stage of basketball. And perhaps the most infamous, but one that not everyone knows about, is of Chris Webber. In 1993, Michigan's Fab Five was the most popular college team ever, and Chris Webber was the clear #1 NBA prospect in the nation. But in their last season, with 20 seconds left in the championship game, this happened.
Long, A 2 to tie. Michigan will have to bring it.
Oh, he
in.
walked! He
got
walked and
away
the
with it.
referee missed it.
Weber brings it into the front court. They have no timeouts
Oh, he
remaining.
causes too many timeouts. That's a technical foul.
He called a timeout. Michigan doesn't
Yes.
have any.
A complete, utter meltdown. First, the blatant travel. Second, running into the corner with nowhere to go. And third, calling a timeout when they had none. The best player on the floor, best player in the entire tournament, making such a huge mistake. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. The lights were just too bright. And it's not just basketball. In every sport, there's an incident like this, where even the best of the best fold under the pressure. By far the biggest example of the art of pressure is in the 1994 World Cup final. This is the single biggest stage an athlete can be on, the most watched sporting event in the world. But since most of you watching are basketball fans, let me set the context. It's Brazil versus Italy. Brazil was the powerhouse nation that it's always been, but Italy had been carried all the way to the final by a single player. Roberto Baggio had just won the Ballon d'Or and was by far the best player in the world. This was a special matchup. The game went to a penalty shootout, the first time in World Cup history, and it was 3-2 in Brazil's favor. And the last one to take the penalty was Baggio. If he missed, Brazil would win the World Cup. The weight of an entire country on his shoulders, the whole world watching. And this is what happens.
He's missed it, and Brazil win the World Cup. Baggio stays rooted to the spot, has hardly moved.
The most heartbreaking moment that any athlete could ever go through. It didn't even seem real. He had one of the greatest performances in World Cup history, just for it to end like that. There was probably no other athlete in history that faced as much pressure as Baggio did on that day. It was such a haunting moment that he became known as the man who died standing. But as much as there are players that choose flight, there are also many that choose the other option. And it's these people that thrive under pressure. Michael Jordan dropping 38 in the finals while having the flu, pushing his body to its absolute limits. Allen Iverson scoring 48 points in his first finals game against one of the best teams in history. And LeBron James, on the brink of elimination, entire legacy on the line, turning into a machine and having his best game ever. What's interesting about the fight or flight response is that any individual is capable of choosing fight. After the 2011 meltdown, LeBron completely reversed his psychological engineering and learned how to succeed under pressure time and time again. Even though Chris Webber still gets reminded of his time out, he went on to have a Hall of Fame career. Steph Curry used to get ridiculed for being terrible in the clutch, missing big-time shots in the playoffs when the pressure was on him. But he eventually beat these allegations, hitting game winner after game winner and winning Clutch Player of the Year. And all this goes to show that pressure is necessary. Without any high stakes, sports would be boring to watch. The possibility of collapse and triumph is what excites the fans, knowing that at any day, the best players can turn into trash, while the trash players can play like the best. The beauty of sports lies in possibility, and it's pressure that draws that line.